Hi, you guys. Okay, ready when you guys are. The question I saw today was from actually a really sweet friend of mine about friendship. So we can start with that. With those of you that jump on first, you always get kind of first priority with what you want to what direction you guys want to go today. So ask any questions and totally okay to ask something just personally about your own aura. I guess I can start with the question that I got first about friendship. Unless one of you guys want to jump on and ask something first. Okay. So I'll just wait like maybe 20 more seconds and see if you guys have anything that you want to ask. Okay. So thinking about what we'll just do with the question that I got is she was asking about friendship and she's asked it 2 weeks in a row. So maybe let's just start there. Um, so different personalities, you know, think about friendship differently. Um, I guess maybe the question to ask yourself is what is friendship to you? Um, Maybe even who your favorite friends have been over your lifetime and why. And then if we step into, we'll break it down in a minute with the aura families, but just kind of think about like what is a friend to you and what is friendship, because that's where she was asking, and she was asking it from a crystal. She's a crystal and an amber, and she was asking it feeling. I mean, what I gathered, her question was like, do I um, am I doing something to um, make it so friendships aren't happening, like true to crystal form? She's wondering if it's her fault, how that friends aren't showing up in her life like she'd like them to. And I'm not even sure if that's what she's asking. So just kind of be thinking about friendship for yourself. We can go this direction, and I'll talk a little bit about it, and then but you guys who have jumped on here first, ask your questions too, because the live group is who I'll get like I'll be able to probably say more to. Um, but thinking about friendship, so when we think of friendship with like the body family, I think in some ways like the body family is green ambers and yellows, that they're the most interestingly they can do that, the more casual lighter interactions with people, what some people call shallow relationships or chit chat conversations and stuff. And I personally don't, I feel like I'm really naturally very deep. And so I actually really, really appreciate people who can bring me to a different place, that can bring me to a more playful or more right here and right now, and let's just interact, and that help me have an experience. And I always notice that when I'm with body colors, that happens for me, that they bring me into the immediate present, and I feel more interactive and playful, or it just more, I don't know, focused on the thing at hand. I have a sister-in-law that's a green amber, and I just remember we went to the outdoor mall in Salt Lake. I can't remember the name of it right now because I never go to malls. But anyway, with her, she thinks about fashion, and we actually, I like talking about fashion with her. And so we're at this mall, and I'm walking around with her and thinking I never do this, but it was really nice and easy with her because it was fun to talk about fabric and clothes and how they hang on our bodies and different colors that we like. And it was really fun and really enjoyable with her. So I think in some ways, and interestingly, green ambers can kind of be loners. So when they have companionship that way, they just enjoy companionship. And I would say that's true of green ambers and yellows. They enjoy companionship. Um, but then what I know they appreciate from me and other people is they appreciate someone who goes deep because they have that in them, but it's somebody else's energy that will take them to that place. So it's kind of something to think about with the body family. Physical environment family is probably the family that um, I would think that they probably feel pretty isolated as far as traditional friendship goes because they're so independent and they're so capable. And so there has to come a moment where they see like the place for friendship and just being able to be friends with someone without it having to be in a role where they're teaching or advising um, or that they can not be doing a task thing. And what I've seen with physical environment people is that they'll find friendships where they will do what it is they do, their expertise or their task. They'll do that with their friends, or their friends will be similar to them in those ways. So either like I always think of my son going to my dad's house, and my son's a body color, my dad's a physical environment color, and they go to his house. And when you go to my dad's house, he's talking about the renovations he's making. He's 81, and he's talking about, you know, roof renovations and taking out walls and putting in a new door into the side of the house, or he's talking that way. And then he's in the garden, and so or in his little greenhouse, and he'll just take my body color son and they'll walk around and they're both just physically engaged in that. And that's what the conversation's about. But see, with my dad, that's what everybody would have their conversation be about with him. It will revolve around his task, physical environment self. So when you have a friendship with him, that's a lot of what it would be about. I think of like conversations he'll have with his neighbors. They're talking about their yards and flooding, or I don't know. It just tends to be around that. It's because that's what's comfortable for him and that's what he knows. And so that's what the friendship will be about. So then you go into, but see, if you're a different personality with a physical environment color, that could feel really one-sided. And so you either have to get to the point where you can address that with a physical environment color, that you need the friendship also to be about emotions, or also to be about exploring deeper ideas, or you need to be okay with that. And they're strong personalities. And so if you're not, which I'm not, so with my dad, that is the extent of our relationship. Basically talking about those things with him as I've been down in post-surgery and not functioning high at all physically. He's come to my house a few times with his wife, and they've been really sweet and attentive, and because he knows what to do. There's something physically for him to do. And even if it's just to come and check, and and you can say, can you do this? And he can do that. So you give a physical environment color, they like to know what to do. It's hard for them to be in a friendship where you just where the rules are a lot looser if it's around emotions and around expressing and going more personal. Okay, and then the mental family with friendship. You guys go ahead and I'm seeing. Hang on, I'm going to read this comment before I move on. I had to stop going to one of my classes here in town, and I wrote a very sincere and genuine letter to a good friend there in the group. I never got a reply and felt so brokenhearted and guilty that I had to leave the group. My husband, being a yellow red, just said, "Why do you care what they think? How do I stop caring? Do I need to change my mindset? I felt I lost several friends in this experience and feel a great loss." You guys post your, because of my presence of mind while I do these live calls, post your auras. Melissa, I want to say maybe you're an indigo. I think that's right. And what's fun is the podcast call I did yesterday was with an indigo, and a lot of it was focused on relationships. So, so I just talked about this. So never got a reply. I felt brokenhearted How do I stop caring? You don't. It's okay to care. I need to change my mindset? I felt I lost several friends with this experience and feel a great loss. So hard. That's a really real question because when you are not in that place, it's, everybody's fine and you see people and you have interactions and it's fine. When you feel like somebody has where you have fallen out of someone's grace, or somebody is talking about you in a way that you know that it's not going to make you feel comfortable, or if you perceive that, even if you haven't heard it said, for some of us that's like devastating and all consuming when somebody is disapproving, disappointed, or just unresponsive. And depending on your personality, how much stock you place in that, it can be just devastating. Where some of the personalities will just, you know, kind of like what your husband said, that's a yellow and a red. That's definitely his red, talking of like, it's fine, just move on. Why are you letting this bother you? Because yellows actually really do like approval. So when they don't have someone that they esteems approval, so for him it would be more like, if this was someone you esteemed, how would you feel? And or using that example of like their experiences, because yellows, remember, they relate it to themselves. So he might not be able to understand what's happened with your loss of this group, but if you can relate it to something, and if he can relate it to something in his life, he can understand it a little bit more. Um, so do I need to change my mindset? I felt I lost several friends in this experience. And you left the group. I wrote a sincere, genuine letter to a good friend there in the group. So you needed to leave the group, it sounds like, for an emotional reason, maybe. Um, and then, so it's like you left the group, and then the person you reached out to say, but I need someone to be a witness to this, and this is the true intention of me, and then it wasn't responded to or received. That's so hard. It's the worst. It's such a hard feeling to feel rejection. It's amazing. Oh yeah, so Melissa, indigo, lavender. Okay. Um, okay. So let me just finish running through real quickly with the different families. So mental family and mental emotional, they're actually going to do it a little differently. Mental family, so they can be really good friends in that they will prioritize their friends. So they're, I don't know if some of you know the Stephen Covey, um, the 7 habits, but also first things first. So in first things first is one of my favorite things I learned, is like a relationship. So you base the goals of your day based on the roles that you have in your life. So I am a daughter, I am a friend, I am a mom, I'm a neighbor, I'm a wife, whatever your roles are in your life. I'm an employee, I'm a teacher, whatever your roles are. And then you make your goals for your week based on those roles, which is such a beautiful concept, because then at the end of your week, you have achieved your relationship goals, and you will feel so much more satisfied than if you just achieve your, the goals and you're not thinking in terms of relationships. So that's a really fast way to explain someone else's book. But Steve Covey, first things first. And what strikes me is so Steve Covey is a yellow-violet combination, just FYI. But Amber's and mental people like his process because it's lists and you're making goals, and that's a really good system for them to remember people in their life and focus around relationships, because they have a tendency not to focus on relationships unless they've made that decision. My relationships are important to me, therefore I'm going to block out this time for this in my relationships. And I think, based on their personality, they're going to be scheduled about how they do their relationships. And so people that can't be scheduled back with them or keep their commitments to them are going to be harder for them. If there's too much like spontaneity, or not showing up, or showing up all of a sudden, or taking them off guard, is really stressful for them. So in a relationship, to them, you want to show up consistently with them, because they will be consistent with you if they have decided you're in their inner circle of friendship. And like anybody, they're going to feel um, they're awkward in new situations because it's too much unknown for them, or having to come up with small talk is really stressful for them. Um, yeah, so they can seem kind of really detached and aloof that way. So understanding people's auras will help you so much to know why people are responding the way they are to you. And I really recommend thinking of it that way. It's like, okay, I'm dealing with a logic person here, and they're a planner, and so spontaneity is not their thing, and small talk is not their thing. And so, if I rate how they feel about me, or my value to them based on something like that, I'm gonna end up feeling, like they don't care about me. So just kind of keep stuff like that in mind. And I would drag this into the mental emotional family, other than relationships are probably even more of a priority for them because of that heart factor. So keep in mind with them, red ambers and blue ambers are thinking about that connection, but it is still a logic connection. But they also like there to be a plan, and like, can we do this together, and can we make this plan together? So that's a big one for them with friendship. um, Emotional family, emotional spiritual. um, in all honesty, because it's emotional, so this would probably go into mental emotional too, the emotional family is going to think about friendship, or relationships, or needing that close connection the most. So where I would say green ambers and yellows are like friends, they can do the friendship thing and have lots of friends or lots of acquaintances, and then they need some deep ones. But the emotional and emotional, spiritual, mental, emotional, they need their deep soul connected friends, and they need to know that they're there, and they probably count on them. And there's probably the most movement or the most change in friendship, or thought given to like close relationships, and the need and needing them, needing to be connecting on that soul level. um they're also the group that's going to, because it's emotional, like feel disappointment. I think that feeling of disappointment or letdown, or like I had an expectation in this relationship, I think is going to does come the most from anybody that has heart, emotional in their first two layers. So just kind of knowing that, like when you're dealing with somebody who in their first two layers has an emotional color in there, those people are going to need to know and feel your commitment to them, and they're going to need to feel it. And I guess that's the difference, is um, finding out maybe their love languages, but also just it's got to come from a feeling place. So sometimes, no matter how many actions you do, if you're not if they don't hear, how you value them, or you don't show them how you value them, or you don't, there has to be some emotional connecting happening with them. Otherwise, they feel abandoned in the friendship. So I know I'm touching on this stuff fast. And then the spiritual family last. Spiritual family can really struggle with friendship. Um, and I would say they need them, right? Everybody needs friendship, but the thing with them is that I'm not understood, but I'm going to hold on to who I am. And so, I if I lose relationships because of that, so be it. But then at the same time, they're like, oh, but I need it, and I need that connection. And I just had another call yesterday, but where we talked about that, where the spiritual family has, we have to spend time developing our heart chakras. We tend to be fairly closed down in the heart chakra region, and so it's scary for us to venture in there. Like our upper chakras are developed, and even sometimes our lower chakras can be really developed, but our heart chakra, and sometimes the throat, coming from the heart. So speaking our truth from the heart, speaking our truth from the third eye, piece of cake for us, but speaking it from our heart is a whole different thing. And I think you guys will find that as you watch some of the more bold personalities expressing all over on Facebook, where they're just like really altruistic, or really sound like religious or spiritual, and say this is the truth, and they're bold in that. You can see where they're choosing to come from here and speaking that truth, And a lot of times you're like, but I don't feel safe, or I don't feel connected, or I don't feel cared about from that kind of communication. So just kind of watch that. And I think anybody in the spiritual family, like, be mindful of that, of like, our heart chakras need to develop and we want connection with people and it's so important to us, but recognize if we can't learn to open up that heart space, we're not going to be able to make those connections with people where it's actually vulnerable and messy and meaningful. Because if you're just meeting from, third eye space or from logic or analysis, it's not going to be fulfilling. And I think that's why we experience loss so much when somebody does, disapprove of us or doesn't want to be in our life, because it feels so scary for us to open up that heart space. So, okay, I'm gonna move on from that question and just see what you guys have to say about that, and then we'll. Here's a funny question. If you get it, why do I rarely have questions? I really can never think of something to ask in the Q&A. Okay, to come to glean, analyze, process, but really don't have questions of my own. I've just been a very observant habit. I have just a very observant habit followed by processing. Um, you know, Rebecca, with the indigo crystal green amber, I think a lot of your journey, which is so true of everybody, is recognizing how much you're operating from your secondary color. And green ambers actually can question kind of on the spot and stuff, but they also can get a sense of just like hang back and wait and watch. And yeah, I really, I'm like indigo crystal, man. Like they, a lot of times with all the spiritual colors is we're very, in some ways we are that feeling of I am my own authority. And so it isn't like I would probably be the same as you. I don't even go on groups. Like I don't even go on any other groups because it's not my personality to sit there and watch a video or even read too many comments or anything. Like it's just not my personality to like. I'm very selective of where I engage. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. And I'm not necessarily saying that's the way to be. I just recognize that about myself. I'm selective where and how I engage my energy, and where I choose to learn. So if you're coming to a forum and you're choosing to learn there, I think just think about that. That's what you're doing. I'm coming to this place to learn, glean information, and it's fine. Like it's totally fine that you're doing that. And I think there'll be a time where you feel safe or comfortable. Because I would say the spiritual family is the most cautious because you're like, wait, what are intentions here? Who's watching? What's the energy? It's almost in some ways, I think you're the most watchful. Mental or emotional, spiritual falls in that category too. We're really watchful. So just kind of know that. And you can choose to engage if you want. It's just a matter of feeling like I want to step out of what's comfortable for me and engage. So yeah, so find a question and realize that you can bring your vulnerability here. Doesn't matter what our outer layers are. You gave me my main and overlay order. Yeah, I never give people more than their main and overlay order because I don't know the order of your outer colors. Sometimes, so people have a main color and they have an overlay, and then you have outer colors, and your outer colors are, I think that they probably have an order. I think mine are pretty clear, but whenever I even try to really get clear, I'm like, I'm not sure with my last two colors, the order of them. So, and then also people have between 4 and like 8 colors. So, you'll have your main and your overlay. So you can kind of see why I focus there because those are dominant. And then somebody could have 4 outer colors or they can have just 2 outer colors. So, and if you just have 2, you're probably going to bounce between those 4 colors a lot more easily than someone who has 8 colors. Their further out colors are going to be less and less influential on them, if that makes sense. Oh, are violets overbearing or do they just feel that way? Um, violets are powerful. So they are involved. So anybody that's in their vision or in their stewardship is going to feel, well, depending on how sensitive the person is, they're going to feel that focus on them. Um, I can spot a violet from just so far away because I can just feel them. I feel that power from them and that focus. They have an ability to kind of assess a situation or assess a person, and they're so intelligent. So their mind goes into all the details of a person, and it's complex. And and they care. They're invested and they care. But then there's ambition there too. So they want to um, do something about what they see, or engage in a problem, or finding solutions, or fixing relationships, or helping. So overbearing is a negative word, but that's like probably an accurate description of how someone would feel as a violet who's aware of that. Like, I feel overbearing. Um, and it kind of depends on your other layers. So some violets, they wouldn't even think twice about that. They would just think, well, um, I'm just doing my part and I'm helping. But another violet, because your overlay is yellow, so a yellow really um, is mindful of social rules, and has actual really good skills of knowing like what's too much and what's not enough, and wants people to feel happy around them. And so going between those two, you're going to be more sensitive to how you are affecting people in your power, like that powerfulness in you, or that um, kind of like high focus or attention. And so just kind of knowing your second color is really going to influence that. But um, it's like, for me, it's just like, think of it as like it's powerful energy. And that's why a violet almost always needs to have a purpose beyond their own immediate circle in their life. Like, they need to have a greater cause that they're working on, or organization or humanitarian work, something that they're where they can basically kind of spread out their their enormous ability to give. And in giving, it's an emotional spiritual color, so they have the ability to give as far as like paying attention to what someone's needs are, seeing what needs to be done, and being that visionary that can delegate to others. It can be, and I'm not just saying this because I know what your role is in your community right now. This is true for all violets. It's a really good role for you to be in a leadership role like you are with the women in your area. So um, it's some kind of a purpose where you're having to put that energy into lots of places is better than, I always just think like a violet in a home with like a couple of little kids and a spouse and never leaves that environment. I mean, in a way that would be just torture for the violet, because um, they just couldn't keep their power just in that small space. It would be too intense for that space. So it's like it has to go into the community, into the schools, into humanitarian work, into, I mean, anything, like anything. It just has to go further than that. The energy is bigger than that. And and so violets can feel a great sense of unrest often if they're not putting out their energy that way somehow. So, oh my goodness, violet. I always feel like, oh, I could say so much about them, and and still there's further to go, because it's like they're just a complex being. They're and it's spiritual and it's emotional and it's complex in the thinking style, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful energy. I absolutely love it. And it's a fun one for me because I puzzle over it, and I feel it, and I'm like, man, it's big, and I have it. It's just like my last color. So I don't identify with it a ton, but I do know what that feels like to some degree, to walk in it. Um, okay, so hopefully that's a answer. Okay, so crystal, red, amber, yellow. I've never been good at planning, but if someone else is in charge of the day's activities, then I like to know the plan. Yeah, that's good. Um, been told you're overbearing, can feel it sometimes, other times invisible. Right. With that been told you're overbearing, um, you have magenta, but your overlay is indigo, and that's my overlay too. And indigo's same thing. Like we can be so laser focused that people are like, "Whoa, I need to like, get out of this, get it out of the line of fire of an indigo, almost, or like out of the line of focus of them." Because um, especially if like we're on a roll about something, or we're really passionate about something, or we feel like something's wrong and we need to fix it, get in there and on a you know global level or something, like we can, it's like that laser focus intensity an indigo can get is a lot. So okay, let's see. You guys are just like coming with good questions today. Let's see. Come from the heart is rad. Yeah. Oh, look at how I read that, Rebecca. I said coming from the heart is rad. I'm not dyslexic, but I did a really cool dyslexic thing right there. Coming from the heart is hard. And I read coming from the heart is rad. It is awesome, and it's such a gift that some people have. Um, and the emotional, spiritual, and even mental, emotional, they can access their heart the most easily, and they're the most comfortable with other people going there and holding that space for them. And so the rest of us can learn that from them, right? Okay, so let's see. Speaking truth from my heart. This is so me. Oh, good. Magenta crystal. Okay. Oh my, yes. Okay. How do we open up our heart chakra? Hang on, you guys. Let me read all these before um, I felt my heart so open and loving. It was beautiful, but it hurts. I know, and you're an indigo. I know. And remember what I said about indigos, that they need that. Like they crave it so much, and it's so scary for them. But it's worth it. Like it's worth the risk. But they can go into fear a lot more easily than other people about heart stuff. And Diana, how do we open up our heart chakra? I'll keep that. What is the purpose of our outer colors if we don't really use them much? We do use our outer colors. It's more that it's that they complement, and it's like the accessories around your main clothing or something. It's like they're complementary, or you access pieces of them, but they're not where you're driving from. However, some people really do live from their outer colors, so that is even a hard and fast rule, that you're not living a lot from them. And this goes right along. Yellow, lavender, and then red, indigo, blue. This might be a question you've answered, but it seems my colors flip based on experience. I find that my red really comes out with my step kids, and I don't feel like I am my fun, bubbly self in those situations. Does stress affect this as well? Oh, yes. And yellows. So lavenders need your space, and yellows need to not feel tied down somehow. So yellows are like my favorite kind of parents in some way, but they're basically like wish they could not have to be a parent and they could just interact with kids, and almost like these are my kids, but I don't want to think of them that way because I just want to have an experience with them and interact with them and be free. There to be free, fluid, free movement within the dynamics. And so it's almost like in some ways, and I feel this too as a crystal, but in some ways where I'm like, I don't really want to be a parent. I just want to have this relationship with this little person and respect them and have us both show up as we are. So it's kind of like a different way of seeing parenting. And I think for yellows in some ways, that's like a good thing to do for yourself, is just be like, not say like, I just want to be your friend with kids, but be like, I need to feel like I can have movement and freedom within the relationship, but I'm in a parenting role, but figuring out how you want to parent as a yellow, because it will be different. And it will be great because yellows are really fun parents. Let's see. You're welcome for honoring each aurora. Let's see. I feel as though I never quite connect completely to anyone. Such a fine thread that least discretion phrase or breaks it. Always chalked up to me being adopted, etc. Yeah. Okay, hang on, you guys. I want to keep reading. When did you realize that you didn't know the correct order of the outer layers? In our session, you gave me the order. No, so when I give you guys I never give people's order in their outer layers. I give you your first two. When you talk to me, we go over a lot of content, and so sometimes I misheard, but I never know the order of people's outer colors. sometimes their third color is really loud. So, or sometimes another color in their outer layer is just really loud. So I'll say that might be your third layer. But overall, I don't know the order of people's layers. So I give you a list. I say this is the list of your colors, but I don't know. Just because I listed them that way doesn't mean that's the order of them, except for the first two. Okay. Um, yeah. What might be some spiritual gifts? Blue, and then magenta crystal, green, lavender, green, amber. Okay, I feel like a lot of my colors need their space and or retreat to gain peace and understanding. How do you do that and still be present as a mom or show up at all in all the family responsibilities? So I'm resting my arm on a gallon jug of water. But it was making me really close to the camera, but I need to rest. My body hurts today. So you guys are the engagement's really high today. I love it. I keep thinking, I'm like, oh gosh, what if, I don't know what we would do if we had like 100 people watching at a time. Like if with all those questions, I would just have to only look at a couple of questions, I guess. But this is great for me. Probably the number of people that show up on these live. I know a lot more people watch them later, but it's like perfect that this is the amount that can show up live. Because I feel all of you. So let's see. I feel a lot of my colors either space or retreat to gain peace and understanding. You guys, with parenthood, I am a parent of one, so always take that into account. And I've mostly been a single parent, so my road is not typical, but and I've known our auras since I started parenting, because that's right. I got into Barbara Bauer's work right when I was pregnant, and then after I had him, I actually didn't know what my son was for 3 years. I waited for 3 years with him because I just wanted him to show me who he was before I found out. But oh yeah, sorry, I got like a wave of like exhaustion. So with parenting, a big thing that I think kind of to undo from the way we were parented, or from how maybe a lot of society thinks of this, is that, I'm the authority, I'm the parent, and we are, we've assumed that role. They're little, they're young, and they're completely dependent, so that's by default happens. But even with your adult children, and then those of us who have kids at home, I feel like the sooner our children can understand that we're people and how we operate, and that we can express that to them. So this is why I'm doing this right now. This is what my body or my soul requires, and you have needs, and how can we make sure that you're getting those needs met, right? So we have to meet their basic needs for food and shelter and a sense of safety and belonging. But beyond that, they're living with you, so you share the space too, so you can take up some space. And sometimes I feel like I take up too much space, but actually that's generally how I feel. As a crystal, I tend to not want to take up any space, but and then I have a yellow child who can take up all the space, and I really love that sometimes about him. And then other times I kind of have to push back and say I need some of the space too. So just basically realizing like that it is up to you to communicate with your children about you and your experience. And rather than making them responsible for you, you're teaching them that I am being responsible for me. So I'm letting you know what I need and what I have to do, or how this response that I'm having right now, or I'm having a response that's uncomfortable for everybody, but just stating what's happening for you, and then letting them do that too. So letting them hold their experience and their space, and you're modeling this to them. And I think it's one of the best gifts you can give your kids, because it will teach them as they go into any relationship and any situation that I know what's going on with my person, and this is the kind of things that my body, spirit, mind requires right now, um, and then and then they can, and this is my obligation to the community, so the home or the school or whatever environment they're in, and helping them own themselves. I think that's one of the biggest things, and one of the hardest things I see with moms in particular is that we take up a huge amount of space and we hate it about ourselves. Like, we're like, why do I need anything? Why haven't I pushed through this? Why don't I know everything? Why don't I have all these solutions to everything right now? And realizing that, we're not here for that. You're not here to have arrived. You are here to be in a process and to be okay with that process, and teach your kids it's okay to be in their process and to be at their level of growth and learning, and the expectations are not the same on them as they are on you, because you're at a different place. But just really getting clear about that I can take up space and I can be in my creative process of my life creation, and that's always okay. And I think that can change a lot about how you it's a lot about self-acceptance. It's a lot about realizing that you matter enough and you can take up space, and it's not your kid's fault that you don't have enough space, and it's not your spouse's fault, and it's not your employer's fault, and it's not your parents' fault. It's up to you to say, I'm here, I matter, this is what's going on with me. I need to process it this way. That might not be the right way, but that's where I'm at right now. And then learn and as you go. And if your kids can experience you that way, even if they're a toddler or a 4-year-old or an 8-year-old, they start to see, that's my mom. She's separate from me. She's going through this process. I'm not the same as her. What's my process? My mom accepts my process, and I can go through and have my space and try things out too. So, okay. Oh, I love that. Taking responsibility for the space I need. Child question, how do I love feeling when it comes to tantrums? I usually send them to their room to calm down, but is that teaching them that their feelings are not okay? Is that honoring that I need peace in my home? Yeah, that's the thing with your kids. You never want to say, this is the way it has to be because this is the ultimate way, when it's just because that's what you need. So you need to state that so they know that. So then they're not wrong because they're not the same as you or don't have the same needs as you. They're just realizing, I live with someone and this is what this person needs. But then you got to make sure you're allowing that for them too. They need to be able to set some of the ground rules of your space or their own space. Yeah, there has to be a balance there. My yellow child, he's connected, yellow child, and then has a lot of physical environment. And then he's blue amber, and they're sentimental about objects, and things are important to him. So his room has so much stuff in it. I mean, it is so chaotic to me. I mean, he's got a huge polka dot rug. It's orange. He's got objects everywhere, all over the space. He keeps it pretty organized most of the time, sometimes not. But I have to let him have his space. He's different than me. He's having a very material experience with this world, and he has relationships with objects, and he has emotional feelings about them, and he needs to be big, and he needs loud sounds more than me, and I have to honor that in him. He's not the same as me, but once again, I have my space and I have my needs, and so he also knows that about me, and we can validate each other. It's okay that you're this way. It's okay that I'm this way. And, you guys, I have one child. Like, this is probably my ability. Like, I can do this with one child. When you've got 6 or 7 children, you guys are up to that. If you have them, you're up to that. You were able to have that many children. You were able to take them into your home one at a time. And you can do that. You can do that with each of them. You have that capacity. We'd love to have some more kids, and we'll see if that happens. But, let's see. So, yes, I do group sessions for family over the phone. And then, no, I don't do it in person anymore. Okay, let's see. Oh man, I feel like I skipped some questions. Yeah, Trisha, I've never ever known the order of people's outer layers. I wonder, yeah, but I list them to you, so you might have I may just not have said that clearly enough to you that I don't specifically know the order. I Because I just was probably like, let me tell you about this layer, let me tell you about this layer, and so it just may have come out that way. But I've never known the order of people's outer colors. I never. Oh, okay. I probably have to be done. Darn it, I'm losing energy. Do you know a decorator that can decorate according to our colors? How fun would that be? Yeah, that's something I should be doing. Mostly because, sometimes sometimes. So I've developed this gift with aura personalities. Like I've developed an ability to feel people's layers, and I love it. I love it. It's like a feeling of gratitude that that happened. But in some ways, it just kind of happened. It was like I was passionate about learning about the layers, and then I recognized that I was feeling people's light, and then it just kind of just kept developing because people kept wanting that for me, and then I tried to train people to do the same thing, not totally clear about how I was training them, just thinking it was muscle testing and realizing it's so not just that, not even close. And so it's just this gift that's kind of developed, and I've always needed income from it, always. Like I've developed this because out of necessity, and that was the thing that people wanted from me, so therefore that's where my attention got focused. And I'm saying this because I'm like, gosh, but when I can think about like what I love, I want to like look at Architecture Digest all day, and I want to drive around and look at homes, and I want to think about where the house is placed on the landscape, and I want to think about like colors and texture, like, like what the house is made of, or I love architecture. So, and I love like, the interior design I love, but it's more the hardscaping of it, of that. So I have like a passion for that, and I love, 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 love feng shui. So feng shui is the art of placement. And so in my, in an alternate life, I realize I'm like, gosh, I would have been really happy as an architect. And I very much would have, yeah. And, maybe that's another discussion for us to think about, like our alternate dreams for our lives. And sometimes I think, I never rule out that you can't change paths. But anyway, so when you ask that, I'm like, well, I would want to do that. I don't want to help people like figure out their home space, and rather, yeah, basically decorating, having your environment suit your personality. And what's really cool about that, Nancy, is that people do that. Like if you guys, all of you, if you're in your home environment or even an office environment, if you look around you, it probably does very much reflect your aura. Um, so yeah, and we can talk about that another time. You watched me light up from thinking about that because I love it. And we're like looking to maybe buy a home in the next year or two, and I could think about it every day. But I realize it's not because I need a perfect home. It's because I love thinking about architecture a lot, and I love thinking about how different states do it and different countries do it. It's so fun to me. So it's kind of a fun thing to realize, like, looking around how your space is right now, and what you value in your space, and nothing's wrong with that. Um, and I think it's okay. Let's see. Oh, you guys are great. Let's see. Thanks. Oh, I love this little. That's awesome, Stacy. And then she has like a little building. Oh, you've designed many homes. That's so cool. And she's got the same aura as me. I love that. How fun. Um, you have an indigo colored piano bench. That's so fun. You love the art of it all. Cool. Okay. Well, you guys, this has been fun, and we kind of jumped around from topics today. I really, really appreciate you guys showing up so wholeheartedly on these calls. For the longest time, I was like, because I've always, this is always my income. I mean, and I've always supported myself. So it's been such a weird journey to be like, it's this passion thing, and people are like, oh, that's so inspired. But I'm like, I've needed this. Like, this is my income. So it's like, it's never, and it still is. It's still like, okay, I got to figure out how to pay rent. And I live like that. I live month to month. And and I don't know how, you know, I usually don't know further than a month or two in advance like how I'm going to pay my bills. And I've been doing that now for 9 years and it works, which is insane. But it partially means I've been following what the demand is, right? So I've been answering what people want from me, basically. And it's a fun thing to think of. And I now have a partner in crime. I'm married, and we're kind of like figuring out and how and what we want to do together. And he's been jumping into my business and seeing where he can help, and he does. But it's kind of, so it'll be a fun thing to see where things evolve to now, and if I can get a little bit more, bring some of those things that are really passions for me, if I can bring them more into the forefront again, I guess, but not even having to have them make money for me, because that sometimes can take the fun out of it. So let's see, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for developing and sharing your gift. Well, you are welcome, Julie. Don't apologize for being awesome and needed. Okay, well, that's relative. But okay. Okay, you guys. So thank you so much. And hopefully this gave you some food for thought. And, as I see it, everyone is worthy of friendship. And for some of us, I think maybe, hopefully you can feel that for me. I am willing to show up for people when I'm with them. But then recognizing, like for me, for example, I'm a really inconsistent friend as far as like scheduling and planning and responding. And so people that have stayed my long-term friends over time are the ones who've recognized that when I'm with you, I give all, and then it's like I'm gone. So basically it's like only certain people can be friends with that. And so maybe recognizing how you do friendship, and being able to verbalize that with your friends, because sometimes I've hurt some friends because of that, and recognizing that I just am not going to be able to show up the way you need to, and I'll feel bad about it. Sometimes I can compromise, and I do, but overall it's kind of like I know that overall this is who I am, and I will try and show up for you the best that I can, in the things that you need. But sometimes it's that who we think is going to meet our needs for closeness or companionship or friendship isn't always what's going to happen. And some of the best experiences in my life have been people who've shown up in different ways and unexpected, and what I wouldn't have thought of as being a close friend, and they've become, such close friends. So allowing people in, not having a prerequisite of who shows up in your life and fills those roles for you, I think goes a long way. So, okay, I love you guys. Have a fantastic day, and namaste.